With the selection of a jury in the Sean Diddy Combs case almost complete, prosecutors are preparing for opening arguments on Monday. But they admit there's a snag. One of their key witnesses against the rapper appears to have gone missing. This comes as we learn that Combs' ex-girlfriend, who was seen on video being assaulted by the rapper, is pregnant.
The name of victim number 3 was going to be revealed when she took the stand, but the woman has apparently gone missing, and prosecutors say they've been unable to reach her.
People just get nervous, and this person could just be nervous and just has had second thoughts.
If the prosecutor can't find this witness, how might it affect the case?
Look, I don't think it's going to have a tremendous effect. The prosecution is going to call a number of alleged victims. So look, this is just one less.
It takes a lot, Sylvia, as you know, because the allegations in this case range from like 2004 to 2024. So this is going to be going on for 20 years, and they're finally getting around to charging him now and trying now. That's because it's so difficult to get people who are not afraid to come forward. This person was powerful, they were rich, they had a lot of influence, they were allegedly violent. So all of those things add up to making it very difficult for investigators to get people to talk to them about these. You add in the fact that many of these things are embarrassing. They're of a sexual nature. They're private. They take place behind closed doors. And that adds to the reticence of witnesses coming forward and talking about these things.
Well, I mean, on the surface, if the prosecutor's claims are true, this seems like pretty much textbook witness tampering, right? I mean, it appears to be an effort to either, in some cases, intimidate witnesses from testifying against him, or there have been other reports of sort of inducing people to make statements in his defense. There was some allegation that in one instance this was a statement that he, in essence, dictated or drafted with a woman who made a statement that was attempting to rebut one of the accusers, I believe, in a civil case against him. I mean, witness tampering is bad. The things that Sean Combs is accused of are terrible. He pleads his innocence. The justice system will presumably...
Cassie didn't just testify. She detonated a bomb. In a packed courtroom, under oath and without hesitation, she exposed what insiders had whispered about for years. A list. Not rumors, not suggestions, a full breakdown of names, dates, locations, and events that the public was never supposed to know. More than 25 celebrities, Grammy winners, A-list rappers, reality stars, and athletes are all connected through private encounters, secret parties, and a system designed to protect Diddy at all costs. This wasn't vague testimony. Cassie provided verified timelines, matching guest lists, and corroborating witness accounts. Her words turned the courtroom silent and left the industry frantic.
Likely that there is some underlying truth to at least some of the allegations. There might be a lot of underlying truth to a lot of the allegations. There's probably some bandwagoning going on. We spoke to an attorney who's for one of the alleged victims of Diddy a few weeks ago. I believe Amber Nomiki and I did, and they said they had calls, they had information, they had people, hundreds of them, come forward. They're not going to represent all of them. They're, which ones have evidence that can be compelling. What are the best cases to bring that? I also saw a story in the New York Post. This is from a week ago, about Diddy stuff that I wanted to read the headline of. Woman claims she saw minors dressed as Harajuku Barbies at Sean Diddy Combs' freak-off parties.
Because once that list entered the federal record, nothing could stop the fallout. What happened next wasn't damage control, it was desperation. Social media wiped, events canceled, lawyers on speed dial, yet the internet only wants one thing: who was on that list and how many careers are about to vanish? It began like any other day in court. Cameras were banned, phones were off, everyone was under strict silence, but then Cassie took the stand. And within minutes, the entire atmosphere shifted. No hesitation, no dodging.
I think you want somebody who wants to serve, someone eager to serve, because that suggests that person might be inclined toward a celebrity like Diddy. I would also, in this case, I would want men, not because men support abuse, but I could see this being very difficult for women jurors. I would want younger jurors as well. I don't know that older jurors would.
When the judge asked her to confirm names, she did so, directly and calmly. She described events in New York penthouses, Miami beach houses, and LA retreats, providing names, dates, and even room numbers. Among the bombshells are French Montana, Usher, Meek Mill, Trey Songz, and Bow Wow. Also mentioned is a Grammy-winning R&B singer from Atlanta and a reality TV mogul currently under federal investigation. Even a retired NFL player with active endorsement deals is included. But what shook the courtroom wasn't just the star power, it was the structure. These weren't one-time encounters.
Do you care if they go on social media?
I wouldn't care so much about social media. Certainly watching you on Law and Crime would be a real problem. But no, I wouldn't care too much. I mean, in fact, if they were reading the celebrity media, TMZ, Rolling Stone, that might be an encouraging thing for Diddy's counsel.
Now, Ben, according to the court today, they expect preemptory challenge.
Cassie described rotations. The same people attending the same private events over and over again across different cities, always in Diddy's orbit. There was a pattern, a system. And she wasn't recounting rumors. She was describing her reality. She wasn't a guest. She was the planner. Cassie's role wasn't passive. She wasn't invited to the parties. She helped run them. According to her sworn statement, she arranged transportation, handled scheduling, and even prepped certain women for their appearances.
I wasn't willing to do what was expected of me. Not talent-wise, but in other areas. It's difficult when you're that young to understand your worth as a woman through the men that I was around, and that was very traumatic. I don't think any of us have healed from that. Diddy would be like, you're not hot anymore, like what happened? You don't have anything, like you don't have any curves. You're looking like you're not looking like, I can't get people to think that you're my good looking person. And there was no Me Too at that time. There was no protecting anyone at that time. You signed a million NDAs and a million contracts that took away all your rights.
Many of these women believed they were auditioning for a music video, a brand deal, or a creative collaboration. However, once inside, things changed. She revealed how Diddy would personally select who stayed, who left, and who never got the option to say no. For the celebrities in the room, this wasn't a matter of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. They were active participants, swapping numbers and returning weekend after weekend, with some even bringing guests. Cassie described how the events followed a strict routine. Flights booked under dummy corporations, hotel floors cleared out, and assistants coordinating outfits. Some girls were told to dress like they were going to a red carpet, while others were told to look undiscovered. All under the illusion of opportunity, yet beneath it all was silence, enforced, controlled, and well paid. Then came the spreadsheet. Cassie's lawyer handed over a printed document that the courtroom now refers to as Diddy's Playlist. It is a 5-year-long tracking sheet sorted by city, date, and guest. Some entries matched tour stops, while others were tagged as off-record.
A lot of these rappers, a lot of these industry people, anybody who does business nowadays with the internet, they have NDAs, non-disclosure. That means that if you work for them, you around them, you can't disclose any of the information about them. It's the same thing that he gave to all his artists when he gave them their publishing back.
The court fell silent. The spreadsheet displayed dozens of sessions, studio time that turned into overnight stays, music video shoots that ended in penthouse suites, and promotional trips that included names who weren't even in the industry. Everything was logged, even initials next to hotel room numbers. These weren't throwaway entries. They lined up with flight logs, security footage, and employee statements. The same stars kept appearing, again and again. But the most disturbing detail, each entry had a handler attached. Someone was responsible for logistics. That's where Cassie's name came up, dozens of times. She wasn't recounting vague memories. She was pointing directly to the paperwork. The moment the testimony leaked, panic spread like wildfire. Celebrities named on the list began erasing their digital footprints. One actor deleted over 3 years of Instagram posts, gone in a night. A chart-topping rapper canceled his podcast appearance without any explanation.
Day will come when we will name names other than Sean Combs, and there's a lot of names. It's a long list already. And of course, I already know who some of these individuals are, but because of the nature of this case, we're going to make damn sure damn sure that we're right before we do that. But the names that we're going to name, assuming that our investigators confirm and corroborate what we've been told, are names that will shock you.
His team claimed scheduling conflicts, but insiders say he was advised to avoid any public exposure. Meanwhile, stylists, producers, and even bodyguards began reaching out to federal prosecutors, quietly and voluntarily. Why? Because they were there. They weren't in the background, they were part of the machine. Their names appeared on transportation rosters and their faces showed up on security footage. Now, they were realizing it was all going public. A handler who once coordinated events for Diddy reportedly called her attorney at 3 a.m. Another claimed she was pressured into NDA renewals just weeks before Cassie went public. This wasn't a cleanup, it was survival mode. 3 new women stepped forward within 48 hours of Cassie's testimony. Each told a disturbingly similar story. They were flown in under vague pretexts. A music video casting, an influencer shoot, a potential brand campaign. But once they arrived, they were redirected. No team, no contract, just a party. One described being separated from her friend the moment they landed. Another noted she was asked to sign a standard release form with no explanation. The third claimed her phone was confiscated before she had the chance to ask questions. Each individual submitted affidavits. Chillingly, 6 names from their mentions matched Cassie's original list. They described the same events, the same locations, and even the same handlers. These weren't isolated cases, they were part of something coordinated, something practiced. If their accounts hold up in court, the scope of the case could expand dramatically. While the courtroom shook, the internet lit up, thanks to 50 Cent. Minutes after Cassie's testimony leaked, he posted a carousel on Instagram featuring blurred court documents and redacted names. One line that exploded across the timeline: Diddy smashed everybody. And now everybody's lawyered up. He followed it up with blurry screenshots from past parties, red circles drawn around familiar faces. One was a Grammy-winning R&B singer from Atlanta.
Because if you think he's going to get out of this from the federal government, he out his mind. They in the process of plea bargaining and trying to do a plea bargain session with him, and he's not taking it. That's probably why one of the lawyers jumped off the case.
While another was a pop producer who once toured with Bieber. Then came the trailer. 50 dropped a teaser for his Netflix docuseries. The video features a silhouette entering a luxury penthouse, accompanied by a voiceover. They knew what was happening, they just didn't think anyone would talk. It was a warning shot, not just to Diddy, but to everyone named in Cassie's testimony. If 50's past is any indicator, this wasn't for clout. It was a calculated move, confirming what many already feared. The industry knew. And now, the world does too. The industry didn't just flinch, it fractured. A luxury brand that had quietly partnered with one of Diddy's flagship events pulled out overnight. No press release, no damage control. They simply removed him from their media kits and website archives. A major music festival updated its historical branding and removed every mention of Diddy, including footage and photos from the early 2000s. Internal emails from label executives began circulating, warning team members not to comment publicly. At label headquarters, conditions deteriorated. Executives with previous connections to Diddy's production companies were abruptly placed on leave. Calendar invites disappeared, meetings were canceled, projects were put on hold. Not out of guilt, but out of fear. Because now every move and every association could be used as evidence. Cassie didn't just drag names into the light. She forced brands to acknowledge the darkness they funded, protected, and perhaps even helped orchestrate. The charges are shifting. What began as a series of civil lawsuits and criminal allegations has evolved into something far more organized. Prosecutors are now investigating whether the entire operation qualifies as a RICO conspiracy, the same legal tool used to take down mafia bosses and drug cartels. Why? Because this wasn't a one-man operation, it was a network. You had event planners, PR agents, handlers, drivers, and security guards, all moving in sync.
There is an explosive new lawsuit that I'm going to break down for you, filed by a man named Joseph Manzaro in Florida. And this is actually in Florida federal court. So he is actually identifying himself in this lawsuit. He's not using a pseudonym. And he claims that he is a survivor of human trafficking and sexual exploitation, and more specifically, as outlined in the complaint, quote, plaintiff was drugged, transported against his will, and sexually maimed as a victim of a coercive and organized criminal enterprise beginning in 2015.
Flights were booked under aliases and schedules were built to avoid overlap. NDA renewals occurred every 6 months. Federal insiders say prosecutors are assembling a map, a chart detailing who knew what, who arranged what, and who benefited. If they can prove this was a pattern, a business built on exploitation, the charges escalate from individual crimes to enterprise corruption. And when that happens, it's not just Diddy facing a sentence, it's everyone who helped make it happen. The most haunting moment of the trial came with a single question. The prosecutor looked Cassie dead in the eye and asked, "Were any of the names involved people the public would be shocked by?" She didn't blink. "Some of them," she said, "are artists people call legends. Some are people I used to look up to." And that was it. She didn't say more. She didn't need to. In that sealed courtroom, her silence spoke volumes. A physical copy of the list was handed to the judge and marked into the record under seal. Phones were banned, no cameras, no transcripts. However, someone inside leaked a photo, a blurry image showing part of the document being carried out. The internet zoomed in. You couldn't see the complete list, but one name was faintly visible, enough to send social media into a frenzy. The guesses haven't stopped since. And the truth? It might be even worse than the rumors. What started as a whisper became a testimony. What was once denied is now documented, signed, sealed, entered into federal record. Cassie didn't just expose one man, she cracked open the foundation of an entire machine, one built on silence, fear, and untouchable power. Artists are hiding, PR teams are deleting, sponsors are fleeing, but it's too late. The damage is done. The dots are connecting. And the real question isn't whether Diddy is guilty. It's how many people helped him stay protected, and how far they'll go to keep their names off the following sealed list. Is this story over? It's not even close. It marks the collapse of an industry,